Let me start with a simple question. Why is it that some people move steadily toward success, while others stay busy, exhausted, and still end up in the same place? It's not intelligence. It's not luck. And it's not opportunity. It's focus. Success is not complicated, but it is demanding. It demands that you stop scattering your energy. It demands that you stop chasing everything. And it demands that you decide what matters most. Because here's the truth. You can have anything you want, but you can't have everything you want. Focus is the art of elimination. It's the decision to say no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. Most people are not failing because they are weak. They're failing because they are distracted. They start, then stop. They commit, then drift. They work hard, but on too many things at once. And scattered effort always produces scattered results. But when a person learns to focus, truly focus, something remarkable happens. Their energy multiplies. Their confidence grows. Their progress accelerates. Because focus turns effort into power. Let me say it clearly. When you focus so hard that distractions lose their grip, you become unstoppable. Not loud, not flashy, but consistent, disciplined, dangerously effective. This message is about that kind of focus. The kind that sharpens your mind. The kind that simplifies your life. The kind that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. So listen carefully, because if you can master focus, you won't need more time. You won't need more talent, and you won't need more motivation. You'll already have what most people never develop. Direction. And direction changes everything. Let me begin with a simple truth. Most people are not short on potential. They are short on focus. They have ability. They have opportunity. They even have ambition. But their energy is scattered. And scattered energy produces scattered results. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing less, but better. You see, success doesn't come from working harder on everything. It comes from working intentionally on the right things. That's why focus is power. When you focus, your effort stops leaking. Your mind sharpens. Your direction clears. And suddenly, progress accelerates. Let me say it this way. Wherever you are, be there. Most people are physically present, but mentally somewhere else. They work while thinking about quitting. They plan while worrying about failure. They start while already distracted by the next thing. And that divided attention weakens everything they touch. Focus demands unity. Unity of thought. Unity of purpose. Unity of action. When your mind and your actions align, you become powerful. Focus is what turns average effort into extraordinary results. The problem is, focus requires discipline, and discipline requires sacrifice. You cannot focus on everything. You must choose. And choosing means eliminating. That's where most people struggle. They don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they refuse to let go. They chase too many goals. They consume too much noise. They allow too many distractions to compete for their attention. And attention is your most valuable asset. Where your attention goes, your life follows. That's why focus is not a productivity tool. It's a life philosophy. When you decide to focus so hard, you decide to stop drifting. Drifting is dangerous. Drifting keeps you busy but unfulfilled. Occupied but unproductive. Tired but unchanged. Focus wakes you up. It forces you to ask better questions. What matters most right now? What deserves my best energy? What must I stop doing to move forward? Those questions change lives. Let me give you a key principle. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Focus is what allows those disciplines to take root. Without focus, discipline collapses. You start strong, then fade. You commit, then compromise. But when focus is strong, your standards rise. You protect your time. You guard your energy. You stop explaining yourself. Because focus is fragile. It must be protected. Distractions are not accidents. They are invitations. And every invitation you accept pulls you away from your future. Focus so hard that distractions lose their appeal. Focus so hard that other people's opinions lose their power. Focus so hard that excuses sound ridiculous. This level of focus doesn't make you rigid. It makes you effective. It doesn't make life smaller. It makes it clearer. Clarity brings confidence. When you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, hesitation disappears. Doubt quiets down because doubt feeds on confusion. Focus removes confusion. And here's something important. Focus is not intensity for 1 week. It's consistency over time. Anyone can focus when they're excited. Few can focus when the work becomes ordinary. That's where champions are separated. They don't change direction. Every time they feel bored, they stay. They repeat. They refine. They understand that mastery requires patience, and patience requires focus. Let me say this clearly. You don't need more time. You need more concentration. You don't need more resources. You need more direction. When you focus so hard, you stop reacting to life and start directing it. That's power. Quiet power. Steady power. Unstoppable power. And once you experience it, you'll never want to live distracted again, because focused living feels different. It feels intentional. It feels purposeful. It feels aligned. And alignment creates momentum. This is where success begins. Not with motivation, not with hype, but with a decision. I will focus my life on what truly matters. Make that decision, and everything else begins to fall into place. Let me tell you something important. Focus is not a personality trait. It is a practice. And like any practice, it must be performed daily. You don't wake up one morning. With permanent focus, you earn it, one disciplined decision at a time. That's why discipline is the guardian of focus. Without discipline, focus fades. With discipline, focus compounds. Most people admire focus. Few people train it. They want clarity without commitment, results without routine, progress without structure. But focus is built the same way character is built, through daily discipline. Let me give you a simple truth. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and focus walks across that bridge every single day. Discipline means you decide in advance what deserves your attention. You don't let moods decide. You don't let distractions vote. You decide, and then you follow through. That's maturity. Because if you leave your focus up to how you feel, you will drift. Feelings are unreliable. Some days you feel inspired. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel confident. Some days you feel uncertain. Discipline says, do it anyway. That's the difference. The disciplined person doesn't ask, do I feel like focusing today? They ask, what needs to be done? And then they do it. That's power. Daily discipline is not dramatic. It's quiet. It shows up early. It avoids unnecessary noise. It does the work long before applause arrives. That's why most people miss it. They're looking for excitement. But focus thrives on consistency, not excitement. Let me make this clear. Focus does not require perfection. It requires returning. You will get distracted. That's human. But discipline brings you back. Back to the task. Back to the plan. Back to what matters most. Every return strengthens your focus. It's like training a muscle. The more you practice returning, the stronger your concentration becomes. And strong concentration creates momentum. Momentum makes work easier. Not easy. Easier. That's how progress compounds. Let's talk about habits. Your life today is largely the result of what you do daily. Not occasionally, not someday, daily. That's why discipline matters. If your daily habits are unfocused, your future will be unfocused. But if your daily habits are disciplined, your future becomes directed. Discipline simplifies life. It removes decision fatigue. You don't debate whether to work. You don't argue with yourself about priorities. You already decided. That decision saves energy, and saved energy fuels focus. That's wisdom. The disciplined person builds routines that support focus. They design their environment. They manage their time. They reduce unnecessary choices. Not because they are rigid, but because they are serious about their future. Let me say this. Either you run the day or the day runs you. Discipline ensures you run the day. You decide when to work, when to rest, when to disconnect. And in doing so, you protect your most valuable resource, your attention. Attention is fragile. It must be guarded. Every distraction you allow is a withdrawal from your future. But every disciplined choice is a deposit. And deposits compound. Focus practiced daily creates confidence. Because confidence comes from self-trust. And self-trust comes from keeping promises to yourself. When you say, I will focus for 1 hour, and you do it, you strengthen trust. When you repeat that daily, you build belief, not loud belief, quiet belief, the kind that doesn't need motivation. This is how disciplined focus makes you unstoppable. Not in a rush, not overnight, but steadily, relentlessly. Because discipline removes drama. It replaces emotion with execution. And execution changes lives. So don't aim to be intense. Aim to be consistent. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Create a daily practice. Decide what matters. Do it first. Do it daily. And protect it. Because focus is not found. It is earned. Earn it today. Earn it tomorrow. And one day, you'll look back and realize something powerful. You didn't just focus your time. You focused your life. Let me tell you something few people want to hear. Most people are not stuck because life is unfair. They are stuck because they are distracted, not lazy, not incapable, just distracted. And distraction is expensive. It quietly steals your future, one moment at a time. You don't feel it happening. There's no alarm, no warning light. You just wake up one day and wonder where the years went. That's the cost of distraction. Distraction keeps you busy, but unproductive. You move all day, but you don't move forward. You start many things, but finish very little. And unfinished things create unfinished lives. Let me say it clearly. Activity does not equal progress. Most people confuse motion with movement. They attend. They consume. They scroll. They react. But they don't build. Because building requires focus. Distraction breaks focus. And broken focus breaks momentum. Momentum is fragile. It takes time to build. And seconds to destroy. One interruption. One distraction. One unplanned detour. And suddenly you're starting over again. That's exhausting. And exhaustion leads to quitting. Distraction feeds on comfort. It offers easy pleasure. Instead of meaningful progress, it whispers, you can do it later. This won't matter. You deserve a break. And later becomes never. Let me tell you why distraction is so dangerous. It doesn't stop you outright. It delays you. And delay feels harmless. But delayed discipline becomes lifelong regret. Most people don't fail dramatically. They drift. They drift away from goals, away from standards, away from the person they could become. And drifting always happens quietly. No decision, no resistance, just distraction. That's why you must be alert, because your attention is always under attack, not by enemies, by invitations, every notification, every opinion, every opportunity. And not all opportunities are good. Some are just distractions in disguise. You must learn to ask, does this move me forward or pull me sideways? Sideways movement feels productive, but it doesn't change your position. Distraction fragments your thinking. You start living in pieces. A little effort here, a little focus there, but nothing long enough to matter. That's why mastery is rare. Mastery demands sustained attention. And sustained attention demands discipline. Let me share something important. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Distraction pulls you off direction. Not all at once, slowly. And that's why most people don't notice until they're far from where they intended to go. Distraction also weakens belief. When you don't follow through, self-trust erodes. You start doubting yourself, not because you can't, but because you didn't. That doubt becomes a habit, and habits shape destiny. The distracted person lives reactively. They respond instead of plan. They chase instead of commit. And reaction is exhausting. Focus gives you control. Distraction takes it away. Here's the truth. Your life becomes whatever you give your attention to. If you give it to noise, you get noise. If you give it to comfort, you get comfort without progress. But if you give it to purpose, you get results. That's the choice. Every day. Focus or distraction. Progress or stagnation. Let me say this gently but firmly. If you don't control your attention, someone else will. And they don't care about your future. Distraction doesn't need permission. It only needs neglect. But once you become aware of the cost, you can no longer pretend it's harmless. Because now, you know, and knowing brings responsibility. Responsibility to guard your time, your energy, your focus. The moment you reduce distractions, your power returns, your mind clears, your pace steadies, your confidence grows, because now you're moving in one direction, and one clear direction beats scattered effort every time. So don't ask for more time. Ask for more focus. Because when distractions lose their grip, progress becomes inevitable. And that's how people stop being stuck. Let me tell you something that changes everything. Power doesn't come from doing many things. It comes from doing one thing well, over a long period of time. That's what makes a person unstoppable. Not speed, not noise, but direction. Most people don't lack effort. They lack direction. They work hard, but they wander. They stay busy, but they drift. And drifting keeps you tired without making you strong. One clear direction simplifies life. It tells you what to say yes to, and more importantly, what to say no to. Because when everything matters, nothing truly does. Living with one clear direction means you decide in advance what your life is about. You choose a central aim, and then you align everything else around it. That alignment creates power. Let me say it this way. If you don't design your life, someone else will, and they won't design it in your favor. Direction is design. It's choosing where your energy goes. Before distractions show up, most people live reactively. They respond to whatever is loudest, whatever is most urgent, whatever feels easiest. But the unstoppable person lives intentionally. They don't ask, what's next? They ask, does this fit my direction? If it doesn't, they let it go. That takes courage, because direction demands sacrifice. You must give up good opportunities to protect great ones. You must disappoint people to stay true to yourself. And you must be comfortable walking alone at times. But clarity brings peace. When you know where you're going, you stop explaining yourself. You stop chasing approval, because approval doesn't build destiny. Direction does. Let me talk about consistency. One clear direction turns consistency into a natural outcome. You don't force discipline. Discipline flows from clarity. When the destination is clear, effort feels meaningful. You don't ask, is this worth it? You already decided. That decision removes hesitation. Hesitation wastes energy. Direction focuses it. That's why focused people appear calm under pressure. They're not calm because life is easy. They're calm because their priorities are clear. Chaos doesn't distract them, because it doesn't belong to their path. Let me share a truth. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. Notice the word progressive, not instant, not dramatic. Progressive, small steps. in one direction, day after day. That's how unstoppable momentum is built. The unstoppable person doesn't rush. They persist. They don't compare. They commit. Comparison fractures direction. Commitment strengthens it. Living with one clear direction also builds resilience. When challenges come, and they will, you don't panic. You adjust. Because direction is not stubbornness. It's steadiness. You can change the strategy without changing the destination. That's wisdom. Most people quit because they confuse obstacles with wrong direction. But obstacles are part of the path. Resistance doesn't mean stop. It means grow. The unstoppable person understands this. They don't look for easier roads. They become stronger travelers, and strength grows. When effort has purpose, purpose fuels endurance. Without purpose, effort feels heavy. With purpose, effort feels meaningful. That's the difference. Let me say this clearly. You don't need more motivation. You need more clarity. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about where you're going. Clarity about what you're willing to give up. Once clarity is established, motivation becomes optional because direction carries you forward even on difficult days. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not perfection, not confidence, but commitment to one clear direction. And when you live that way, life starts cooperating. Opportunities align. Energy increases. Doubt loses its voice because now your life is moving as one. One mind, one focus, one direction. And that's unstoppable. Focus is not something you turn on. When life feels important, focus is a way of living. It's not an event. It's not a season. It's a lifestyle. And when focus becomes a lifestyle, you stop chasing short-term results and start winning the long game. Most people live reactively. They focus when there's pressure. They concentrate when there's a deadline. They get serious when there's a crisis. But when the urgency fades, so does their focus. That's why their progress comes in waves. Strong starts, weak finishes. But success doesn't reward strong starts. It rewards strong finishes. And strong finishes come from long-term focus. Let me say this clearly. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day over a long period of time. Focus as a lifestyle means you don't wait for motivation. You build systems. You don't rely on intensity. You rely on consistency. You don't ask, what do I feel like doing today? You ask, what kind of person am I becoming? Because lifestyle shapes identity, and identity shapes destiny. When focus becomes a lifestyle, your days stop feeling random. Your actions align. Your priorities stabilize. You stop jumping from idea to idea. You stop chasing shortcuts because shortcuts don't lead anywhere meaningful. The long game does. The long game is quiet. No applause. No instant rewards. Just steady effort, repeated daily. And that kind of effort builds something rare. Trust in yourself. You begin to trust that if you say you'll do something, you will. That trust creates confidence. Not the loud kind, the calm kind. The kind that doesn't panic under pressure. Because you know how this works. You've seen consistency pay off. Focus as a lifestyle also changes how you view time. You stop rushing. You understand that growth takes time. You stop asking, why isn't this working yet? And start asking, am I working consistently? That shift removes frustration. Because frustration comes from expecting short-term results, from long-term activities. Focus teaches patience, and patience builds strength. Let me share something important. When focus becomes your lifestyle, distractions lose their power, not because they disappear, but because they no longer matter. You've decided what your life is about. Everything else becomes secondary. That doesn't make life boring. It makes it meaningful. Meaningful effort is energizing. Busy effort is exhausting. That's the difference. The long game also requires faith. Faith that today's work matters. Even when results are invisible. Faith that repetition compounds. Faith that discipline pays. And it always does. Life keeps accurate records. Every focused hour counts. Every disciplined choice adds up. You may not see progress today, but it's happening. Below the surface, like roots growing before the tree appears. People see the tree and call it luck. But you know the truth. It was focus. Practiced daily. Over time. That's winning the long game. And here's the beautiful part. When focus becomes a lifestyle, success becomes sustainable. You don't burn out because you're not forcing intensity. You don't quit because your identity is tied to consistency. You don't collapse under pressure because your foundation is strong. That's real success. Not fragile, not temporary, built to last. Let me say this gently. You don't need to do more. You need to stay longer. Stay with the habit. Stay with the discipline. Stay with the direction. Because life rewards those who refuse to drift. And drifting is always optional. So decide today not to focus harder for a week, not to try something new for a month, but to live focused, to make focus part of who you are, how you start your day, how you protect your time, how you choose what matters. Because when focus becomes your lifestyle, you don't just make progress. You build a life that keeps progressing. And that's how you win. Not quickly, not loudly, but permanently. Let me leave you with this thought. Your life will not change because you listen to this message. It will change because of what you choose to focus on after it ends. Focus is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly in your daily choices, your habits, your standards. What you give your attention to becomes your future. That's not philosophy. That's law. So don't ask for more motivation. Ask for more clarity. Don't wait for life to slow down. Decide what matters and let everything else fade. Because the moment you stop scattering your energy and start directing it, your power returns. Little by little, day by day. And one day you'll look back and realize something important. Nothing magical happened. You simply focused and refused to drift. That's how ordinary people become unstoppable. Not by chance, but by choice. So choose wisely. Your future is listening.